Diana Dors was marketed as Britain's Marilyn Monroe, but she was a survivor hiding dark secrets. Beneath the glittery gowns lay a hell full of blackmail, sex parties, and gangsters. She was a dangerous woman who turned men's desires into weapons, not just a sex symbol. Welcome to Iconic Lives. Today we decode the bruises behind that sultry laugh, the betrayals and the bedroom secrets that shook British society. If you are ready, we open the curtains. Born Diana Fluck in Swindon. Though mocked for her name, she swore to write it in neon lights. At just 14, her mature body and bold attitude were already catching men's eyes. Her mother encouraged her to use these talents. Diana didn't have an innocent childhood. She was a project growing up under spotlights, learning to exist through her body. Beauty wasn't a gift for her. It was her only ticket out of this cruel world and her biggest curse. When she stepped into London, England was grey. Diana was an explosion of color. With platinum hair and tight sweaters, she became the country's scapegoat. Papers called her a blonde bombshell, but she wasn't afraid to pull the pin. She managed to turn her sexuality into a product, but this rapid rise put her on the radar of wrong men. She didn't know she'd have to sell her soul piece by piece while climbing the ladder of fame. Her first husband, Dennis Hamilton, was her biggest mistake and darkest nightmare. Dennis wasn't a loving husband. He was a pimp marketing her. He used Diana's body to finance his own luxury life. He used violence, manipulation, and fear tactics to control her. Diana was in a cage during her marriage, but the bars were made of Dennis's sick mind, not gold. He was a parasite who exploited not only Diana's money, but also her self-respect and womanhood. Dennis's perversions knew no bounds. The private parties they hosted were actually sex rituals where British society's dirtiest secrets turned. Dennis forced Diana to be with other men and women, secretly recording these moments. With cameras hidden behind two-way mirrors, he filmed the most intimate moments of celebs and politicians. Diana was the lead actress in this sick theater, but she wasn't the one writing the script. She was just a victim. These tapes were used not just for Dennis's voyeurism, but for blackmail. Diana became an unwilling accomplice, used in her husband's dirty game. Their home, known as the Dorsey, was a house of fear and blackmail, not champagne. Diana knew if she disobeyed Dennis, her own career would end with these tapes too. Her husband used her as both his whore and his bank vault. This period opened deep wounds in Diana's soul that would never be erased or healed. She went to Hollywood as the second Marilyn, but America swallowed her. The scandals caused by Dennis followed her there too. Dennis throwing a photographer into a pool at a party brought Diana's career to the breaking point. Newspapers headlined her as a trouble woman. Not her talent, but her husband's violence was discussed. Diana watched helplessly as the Hollywood dream turned into a nightmare. She was talented, but men reduced her to a scandal queen. Diana's life was intertwined with the real criminal world, not just bedroom scandals. She was close friends with the Kray twins, London's most dangerous gangsters. She appeared in their clubs, witnessing illegal acts. The Kray's violent world gave Diana a strange sense of safety. Perhaps she sought the protection she couldn't get from her husband in these ruthless killers. This dangerous dance with the mafia proved she was part of the underworld too. When Dennis died, Diana thought she was free, but traumas didn't leave. Her marriage to second husband Richard Dawson also ended in frustration. Diana wanted to be loved, but the men she chose were always jealous of her fame. The divorce process was a painful period where Diana faced the fear of losing her children. She was a woman tired of being exploited by men, but more afraid of being alone. Every breakup grew that huge void in her heart a little more. Her fortune melted away due to bad investments and exploitative husbands. It was whispered that sex parties at her home became a necessity to pay bills. The nickname Queen of Sex Parties stuck to her. Papers didn't tire of writing about group sex sessions. drug use, and indecent proposals turning in her house. Although Diana laughed off these headlines, she was bleeding inside. Trying to survive by selling her body was humiliating for the once biggest star. Her third and final husband, Alan Lake, was an alcoholic actor. Diana might have found the love of her life, but this love was toxic. They fed each other's addictions. Alan's drinking problem and violent tendencies fit Diana's chaotic life. They got drunk together, fought, and then made up. This relationship was a perfect mix of passion and destruction. Alan was Diana's last port, but this port was stormy and the ship could sink at any moment. As she aged and her body changed, Diana switched tactics. She couldn't be a sex symbol anymore, so she adopted a self-deprecating character. She regained public love by mocking her weight, past, and scandals. Her "say what you want, I lived it all" attitude made her untouchable. She transformed from a fallen angel into a wise woman mocking life. But behind this cheerful mask, the pain of the little girl abused in her youth was still hidden deep inside. One of the biggest mysteries in Diana's life was the £2 million fortune she allegedly left her son. Before dying, she gave her son a code written on paper. This wasn't a movie script, it was reality itself. Diana had amassed a fortune her husbands couldn't reach and buried it underground. Her son Mark tried to crack this code for years, but failed. Even in her grave, Diana continued to play games with the world. The money still lies in a swamp somewhere. When diagnosed with cancer, Diana put on her warrior spirit again. The disease tried to defeat her like all other men in her life, but she resisted. Chemotherapies, surgeries, and pain. That sultry woman was melting away in hospital rooms. But she didn't neglect to smile at cameras until the last moment. She didn't fear death because she had already lived through hell. Cancer could take her body, but never her legend. She was determined to play Diana Dors. She passed away on May 4th, 1984, at just 52. Her body was tired, her heart broken, and her soul full of betrayals. Her death created a huge shock in England. The blonde bombshell had exploded, leaving only ash behind. But the tragedy didn't end here. Her husband, Alan Lake, refused to live without Diana. Shortly after the funeral, he committed suicide on the same date Diana died later that year. This was the bloodiest proof that the drama continued even after death. Alan found it torture to even breathe in a world without Diana. 5 months after Diana's death, he put a shotgun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. This suicide was the final indication of how sick and dependent their love was. Alan had rushed to be with his wife. Diana made men fall in love with her while alive, but she dragged a man to the grave with her death. This wasn't Romeo and Juliet. It was a British tragedy written by alcohol and obsession. Diana's son Jason couldn't carry his mother's legacy. His drug addiction and overdose death showed the curse on the Dors family continued. Diana wanted to protect her kids from this dark world, but her own chaos swallowed them too. Her fame and his father's sins were a heavy burden Jason couldn't carry on his shoulders. Diana's story wasn't limited to herself. It was a chain reaction causing destruction, addiction, and early deaths lasting for generations. Today, the first thing that comes to mind when Diana Dors is mentioned may be platinum hair and tight dresses. But the real legacy is the pain suffered by the woman inside those dresses. She was a pioneer of the sexual revolution, but also its victim. In a male-dominated world, she lost her soul while trying to exist with her body. Blackmail tapes, secret codes, gangster friends, and suicidal husbands. Her life was like a wild, uncensored horror movie. Diana Dors shone like a star and fell like a meteor. She came out of Swindon and brought the world to its knees, but lost to the monsters in her own home. As iconic lives today, we saw the bruises under the makeup and the scream behind the laughter. She wasn't the British Marilyn, she was just Diana, with her sins, good deeds, and secrets never solved. Never forget this dark story that continues to shine even when the lights go out. Truth hurts, Goodbye.